Hello, students. Man, there's only like 1 month left to school. You're happy and I'm happy. Okay, it's a great day because the Buffalo Bills are undefeated in the NFL, thank you. And it looks like the Chargers have found themselves a bright young quarterback. Thank God Philip Rivers is gone. Okay, this video is about how to write your paper, your research paper for the end of class. First thing, papers can be written by a group of students, right? 3 students max, unless you do me a big favor, like come over and paint the inside of my condo. Then maybe I'll let you have more. Okay. If you click this, SOC360, how to write your paper, this will open up. There are 6 sections to this paper. The first section is the introduction. Describe the data set. Whatever data set you have chosen, where did they get their data, how did they collect their data, what type of variables exist in the data set. This whole paper is double spaced. So since you are all college students and your superpower is that you are professional BSers, I know you can get a page out of this. This might be a little strange, and this might be less strange, but this one, I know you can get a half page, because all you're doing is just talking about variables. What kind of variables do they have? Well, they have how many hours a week do you spend on social media? Does social media leave you with a positive or negative feeling? That kind of stuff. Okay, so use that superpower and get through this page. If you are writing this paper by yourself, then you probably don't need to do the second part of the introduction. But if you are with one other or 2 other students, then good idea to do this. It's a casual, informal paragraph of the questions that you are interested in analyzing. Like, does age affect how much you study? Does ethnicity affect social media use? Does gender affect their discomfort without social media? If you have recoded any variables in the data set that you're using, the only one I foresee is age. But if you're using the GSS 93 that we've been using all semester, there is already a recoded age variable in there. So if you are going to recode, then give me another little paragraph about that. If you are not, then don't write about it. Section 2 is called descriptive statistics. For section 1, this is exactly what you're going to put at the header of the page. Section 1, introduction. Section 2, which appears on a fresh page. Don't start section 2, on a page right after the ending of section 1. Go to a fresh page, put this, whoa, it's trying to run away. Put this as your page header and then write section 2, which is, what variables have you decided to use for your paper? And you have to run mostly frequency tables, but in some cases, like age, you're going to have to run a descriptive table, so the table that you get isn't gigantic. Okay, so run all these tables and describe them this way. What is the title of the table? What are the answer choices? The number of valid cases, and 1 stat from the valid percent column. And I'll show you something real fast, okay? Well, let's go with sex freak. I know, it's my fallback. So if I was going to describe this table, whoa, where'd it go? In this way, this is how it would look. Okay, Notice how there are 3 totals in the table. The first total in the frequency column is the number of valid cases. So in this case, for the original Sex Freak video, there are 1,330 valid cases. So here I go. I'm going to describe it. The first variable I selected for analysis is titled frequency of sex during last year. The answer choices are not at all, once or twice, blah, 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 all the way down to 4 times plus per week. The number of valid cases is 1,330. And then from this valid percent column, I'm going to say that over 20%, and then I'm going to put 22.0% in parentheses, answered that they didn't get any sex at all in the last year. So those must be the married people. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. That's how you do this. So every single table that you have, the first one is going to be the first variable I selected for analysis. All the rest of them are going to be the next table I selected for analysis. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Section 3 starts on a new page. This is exactly what you're going to put at the top of the page. This is a formally stating a set of theories that you have about the data. And this is the only page in the whole research paper that appears as a bulleted list. Okay, they are theories that you will test with your analysis. Always present your hypotheses in null format, which is totally opposite to the way human beings think. But, the people way back when decided that this was how it had to be. So the correct way to state in a null format is there is no difference. The incorrect way, at least in my class, you state there is a difference, between men and women and how long they use social media every time they use it. Okay, this one makes so much sense, but you have to state them in null format, and you're going to write all these null format hypotheses, and then you're going to run tests, and you either accept them or you oh man, I'm losing it. You don't accept them, which I'll remember the correct word. Each hypothesis statement must contain one independent variable and one dependent variable. Well, what the hell is that? Hey, I got a slide here. Independent and dependent variables. Okay, independent variables are mostly demographics. Let's just keep it simple. Like age, gender, ethnicity, income, things like that. Keep it that way. Although you can use any variable as an independent variable as long as as long as it's logical. You don't have to stick with demographics. Just for right now, online is the easiest way to go. Dependent variables are all the questions that have to do with the topic of the survey, and they are either attitude or behavioral. Like sex freak, hours per day using social media. Has it become more difficult as a Hispanic / Latino, but is now Latinx to live in the United States? And hours per day studying, etc. Okay, so here's an example of a correctly stated null hypothesis. A respondent's ethnicity has no effect on their feelings about capital punishment. So if you use that, you're going to run the test, and you're either going to accept the null hypothesis or you're going to not accept it. I still can't remember the word, but we'll just work with that. Here's another example. There is no difference between men and women and their opinion on spanking as discipline for children. Okay? That's your hypothesis statement. You're going to run a test and you're going to accept or not accept that statement. All right, totally confused? Awesome. After section 3, I want you to jump to section 5, okay? Do 5 before 4. Trust me. 5 is 1 to 2 pages. You're going to run your analysis and explain your results from the output and tell me whether the test is significant or not. Okay, do 5 before 4, but when you turn in the paper, keep the sections in order 1 through 6. Okay, explain the results and test for significance in each case. In any of the 4 inferential tests which you're about to learn, the test for significance value, whatever the number is, must be less than 0.05 for you to say that the test is significant. Significance means that when you're presenting results to an audience, if the test is significant, that means you can jump from the sample to the greater population with scientific assurance. Significance means that the test results are scientifically sound. Okay? Less than 0.05. You may find a few non-significant results from whatever data set you pick. Just run the analyses and report the findings anyway. It's more important for me that you know how to tell me whether the test is significant or not. Okay, so here's a cool little slide to tell you exactly how to write up each result in section 5, okay? Restate your hypothesis. Every hypothesis statement is going to turn into some type of analysis. Then tell me what type of test you ran. You know, maybe it's a cross-tabulation, a t-test, analysis of variance, or correlation. And like I said, you're going to learn all that stuff. Talk about the results. Then tell me if the groups are statistically different. Oh man, what the hell does he mean by that? Well, you're about to learn. And then, depending on whether statistically different, there it is. Will you accept or reject the null hypothesis? Okay? And finally, is it a significant test? All right, so here's a couple of examples. Here is a t-test for males and females and the highest year of school completed. Now, when you watch the video about running a t-test, you'll see that in this table, the mean or the two means is what you're looking at. When you run a means test, whether it's a t-test or analysis of variance, when you're comparing the means, the difference between the highest and the lowest mean must be greater than 0.5 in order for you to say that the independent variable groups, male and female in this example, are statistically different. Okay, is there a statistical difference in these two groups? You bet. Because if I subtract 12.92 from 13.19, oh crap. Oh, well, a little correction here. What am I going to get? 0.27. And that is not greater than 0.5. Let me make sure before I put my foot in my mouth. 13.19 minus 12.92 equals 0.27. Hey, I was right. Okay, 0.27 is not greater than 0.5. So is there a statistical difference between these groups? No. Okay? This is only an example. Very important. Don't think you have to perform every type of analysis or paste tables and charts for every test in your paper. The only rule for this paper is that you have to show me that you know how to do more than one type of analysis. I'm going to teach you 4. Okay, so just show me, in the 8 or however many tests that you run, that you know how to do more than one. Which means you can run 7 cross-tabulation tests and 1 t-test, and that would fulfill that requirement. Okay, here's a crosstab table result. Remember, you're going to watch a video about how to run a crosstab, so you'll learn it. This is only an example. Is there a statistical difference between these 2 groups? For crosstab tables, there must be at least a 10% difference. Hey, come back here. Get all of that. In most categories, okay? So what we're looking at is, are you married, yes or no? And, you remember this one. Is life exciting or dull? So this is a crosstab test, and I'm looking at the difference between yes and no in these 3 answers. And here, there's only a 5% difference. Here, there's 1.9% difference. And here, there's like maybe 2 or 3%. So not one of these answer categories shows at least a 10% difference. So this crosstab test, the married groups are not statistically different. Right. Both of these examples that we've looked at, the independent variable groups were not statistically different. And that means if they are not statistically different, then you will accept the null hypothesis. Because you said there's no difference in your hypothesis statement. There's no difference between males and females and the highest year of school they've completed. So this test is not statistically different. So that means that you're accepting that hypothesis. Okay? Then every single test that you run is going to give you a significance result. And here, the very first row, Pearson chi-square, in the chi-square test table, and you go all the way to the right, and the number for significance for this test is 0.006. Is 0.006 less than 0.05? You bet it is. It's kind of tricky because 0.006 might click in your mind and say, no, 6 is greater than 5, but this has 2 zeros, okay? So this test, the number is less than 0.05, so this test is significant. Okay, now when you're done with all your testing, you can work on section 4, the analysis section, which 1 to 2 pages, you're going to explain the inferential tests you used in section 5. So let's say in my paper, I used t-test and crosstab. So I'm going to explain the type of analysis completely, but generically. Basically, how do you set up a t-test, and how do you interpret the result tables, and how do you determine significance? Don't confuse this section with the results section, section 5, which where you actually talked about the variables that you used. That's not it at all. All you're doing is, in a t-test, how did you set up the test? I went to analyze, compare means, and independent samples t-test in SPSS. When the table came up, I put the independent variable, where the hell do I put it? Oh yeah, in the grouping variable box, and I put the dependent variable in the dependent list box. Hold it. Analyze, compare means, independent samples, t-test. I'm going to put age in the grouping variable box and blues music in the test variable. That's what it is. And in the t-test video, I'll show you what to do with the rest of this stuff. Okay? But that is what you're explaining here. You know, after you put the variables in the correct boxes, you click OK, and then the tables come up and you describe how you interpret these results tables. Not what variables you have in there. Just say, you know, in the top table, I look at the means. In the bottom table, I look at the significance results. And you're basically explaining it to the geeks who go to seminars all the time and they watch somebody report their findings and they say, oh my God, I have to run all those tests myself. So you're explaining to this person how you ran the test. And the last section brings your superpower back into play. One page, you know, summarize your findings. Maybe a couple of the tests you ran, you want to repeat the results. Suggest further research. Pretend that you're doing this paper 5 years in a row. No, I can't take anymore. What different research would you look at if you're doing it all over again? Like in the database, if you use the GSS database, the race variable is very limited. So you might say that I would add more answer choices to the race variable. And then super cool thing to do for me, you know, suggest better questions. You know, even one or two. You know, you might think a better question to put in the social media database or the student evaluation of CSUSM. Okay? All right. That's a long video, but it's worth the time, right? Especially since the Buffalo Bills are undefeated. All right. Come into the office hour. Email me. I am totally here for you. And I know I've said this before, and I will say it again. You are all unbelievably awesome because you have struggled your way through a semester that most of you have never seen before. Totally online, okay? And I love seeing you in the office hours. Love answering your emails. So be proud of yourself, okay? Only a few weeks left. All right. I'll see you in the next video.